A couple weeks ago, I had a customer stop by with his trailer and load it up full of pine. That is correct. He had emailed me actually last year and asked if I could set aside and save him a load of pine. He parks a camper at a campground and he loves burning pine. So I said, sure, no problem. So a couple weeks ago, he brought his trailer over. We loaded it up full of pine, all pine, nothing but pine. He took it back to his campground and he was burning it that weekend, and one of his neighbors walking by noticed the new load of firewood he had, and he was intrigued by it. He was not intrigued by it because of how well it burned or how great a flame it gave off or the nice sounds it was giving with the crackling and the snapping and the popping. No, what impressed him the most about the firewood was the size. That is because this is about the average size that the splits I sold the other customer were. Right here. This is the size. And he said that is the best looking firewood I have ever seen. Everyone around me just sells big chunks. And he doesn't like big chunks. Big chunks like this, which I have a whole bunch of. I have 3 totes full of bigger chunks of pine. My plan with this was to burn it in the boiler this winter. However, that neighbor that walked by and saw the pine that I sold the other guy, he got my number, gave me a call, and he ordered 2 trailer loads of pine. But he wants it this size. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start with one of these totes. I'm going to break it down and see how much. I'm going to resplit it. I'm going to resplit it with the Easton made 37D using the 4-way wedge. I'll explain why in a second. And I'm also going to do something a little different today, and something for the first time I haven't done yet. I'm going to run the splits into IBC totes. So the reason I'm using the 37D with the attached conveyor today instead of the Wolf Ridge like I used a few weeks ago to resplit some maple is because I am all alone. And so I figured the fastest way to take these splits after they're resplit away from the splitter, since I don't have Amanda here to go and stack them, I figured I would use the conveyor and I would run them into these IBC totes. And then when this customer comes, we can just take out of the IBC tote, throw it in his trailer. I've got these set up in a way that this is, again, my first time running into IBC totes with the conveyor. And my thought here is, this is my main tote that I'm going to run into. I've got this other tote in front of it to kind of act as a backstop to keep the splits from falling out through the opening that I have cut in the IBC tote. And if this tote fills up, this will also potentially catch any overflow. And then I have another tote, a third tote on the back side to also potentially catch any overflow. Because I'm thinking that when I resplit this tote, it's going to fill up. Being that this one is stacked in here, when I resplit and run it loose into that middle tote, it's going to fill it up and there will be some overflow. So we'll see how this works out. First time running into totes, and first time on the Easton made using the 4-way wedge. All right, so that didn't go too bad. It went just fine, re-splitting the pine. I do have, in this tote, there were some long cut pieces. So those still, I'm gonna leave those in the tote. Those will go to the boiler. But for the rest of it, it did fill up this tote and a little bit more. So the overflow plan worked pretty good. There's actually no pieces on each side. So nothing spilled over the side, it just spilled over the top into this tote that I had behind it. And then there's nothing actually that spilled over into the front. Now the interesting thing is going to be, if I move this tote, how much this is going to spill out. This piece right here is. But let's just see if I move this. Oh, look at that. Nothing even spilled out. So having that tote as kind of like a backdrop to this opening, everything kind of fell into place and kind of is now holding right there. So that worked out very well. Wow, I am actually kind of impressed. All right, so yeah, not too bad. The overflow all came to the back. There was no overflow to the sides, which is good because now that kind of gives me a better, I guess, understanding of how I might run this setup in the future, whether or not I have IBC totes here. I think this works having 3 of them kind of stacked up or in line with each other. So what you could do is you could fill the one up now, move that to the front, put this one that's a little bit full, move that to the center, and then bring the empty one to the back, keep running, and potentially fill up 3 totes all in one splitting session. So that is kind of good to know because I was wondering, you know, the totes might fill up kind of quick and then you're always kind of like scrambling around, like you stop splitting, you go move the tote. But maybe I'll be able to fill 3 up at a time. Who knows, 3 at a time, even with pine.